the structure that was holding me back. All of this was a part of this process going through the Qliphoth realm. It's just breaking down like the old and rebuilding. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to my channel. I am Aradia Arcanum. Welcome to Arcanum's Dark Light. This video, I want to chat a little bit about the Qliphoth and initiating into it and being aware of that, and is this something that can be done without you even being aware that this is taking place. So I want to talk a little bit about that in my experience with it. So grab a seat. So I made a video talking about going into the underworld and my experience with that. So this is going to be a little bit about that and my coming into the understanding and the awareness, kind of a eureka moment after watching a video. So I was watching Universal Mastery, and I forget the title, I forget what the name of the video was, but he was discussing his initiation into the Qliphoth, I believe. So he began to tell a story of how he found out that he had begun his initiation, and this wasn't something that he activated or he set intentions to do. This was something that he found out that this was something he had already begun to do. And I'm not going to go into like the whole story of it, but that was the thing that sparked this conversation. So that set me to thinking, right? So I had this thought process because I wanted to actively say, okay, let me work with the Qliphothic tree and go through the spears. And, you know, I'm going to give you pieces of the story, you know, because this is a long process. So after listening to Universal Mastery, I thought about that Underworld experience. And it's crazy because all of the synchronicities of what was mentioned about what was happening in the astral by the woman that was there with me, what she was seeing, and she said she saw me there with a woman, a being. So looking back after knowing the things that I went through after that, I started putting two and two together. I was being prepared and then initiated into entering into the Qliphothic realm. So after all of the things that had taken place after that, I remember after having that experience, I was in a Wiccan coven, and right shortly after that, I remember saying, I need to go deeper, I need to go darker. So I had a conversation with the priestess of the coven, and I was like, okay, I can no longer be a part of the coven because I have to go deeper and darker. That's all I kept saying, deeper and darker. So I remember going through these changes, and I just felt the urge to like want to know more and want to understand more of what the darker side of things was, because I wasn't being fulfilled. I just felt this yearning. And when you fast forward, right? Fast forward a few years. I went through a lot of evolution coming into the darker side of things. So then, this was maybe about 3 years ago, and I spoke about that working with Nama. So it was crazy because I, even then at that point, my intentions was not, so I thought, was not to initiate into the Qliphoth. I just wanted to find some invocation that I resonated with to work with Nama. It just so happens that that was the invocation into that Qliphoth. So still, I'm a little slow sometimes. I wasn't putting two and two together. I am just like, I was excited about invoking Nama. So I went through that process and, had my experience with Nama. And after that, my experiences with her and how the primal urges, understanding what they are, and even my experience with a lot of things that I was going through in my life, tapping into the primal side of myself and learning how to be okay with that, going through that whole process. And even then, I wasn't thinking about this is the process going through the Qliphoth, the tree. I knew after sitting thinking about it, I said to myself, I just felt like, and I couldn't put my finger on it, but I kept feeling like I don't want to double do something. I don't want to go through something that I have already experienced, put myself back in a place that I came out of. And I kept having this thought. I understand now why, after listening to that video and putting everything together and looking back at the past and the experience in the underworld and me invoking Nama, I had already begun initiating, first being prepared, and then initiating, going through the experiences necessary for me to understand that that 10th spear, and then the Qliphoth, and then the going up, understanding Lilith and Nama, working with Lilith through this whole experience. And so I thought about that, and something just told me to start with Adremalech. So that's what I did. I worked through the tunnel that took me to, I think it's the 22nd or 21st tunnel that took me to Adremalech. So I went through that tunnel and into that Qliphoth, and I'll share that experience on another video. But my point for making this video is, I talk about this all the time, that shadow work is going to happen regardless. You are going to go through these lessons in life, whether you want to or not. So actively taking the will and saying, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to do shadow work is better for you, because you can kind of manipulate how this is going to go down, be aware, understand it better, which will help you in turn transition, transmute, and work through it better. So I always say that. So in this case, that was not something that I did, because I didn't think that my mind wasn't on initiating into the Qliphothic realm, not until recently, and then finding out in hindsight, going through all of these things and having that feeling like I didn't want to repeat something, it's because I had already begun the process. So, and it was like a eureka moment, because I didn't And maybe it wasn't meant for me to connect the dots. I don't know. Maybe because at the time I thought I wasn't ready, because I wasn't actively seeking to go through the Qliphoth realm. But I just know that all of a sudden, and it wasn't until I took the poison path, right, that all of these things opened up and the synchronicities, everything aligned. Like, okay, it was like I had like a flashback moment. And, you know, like when you are, like they say, your life flashes before your eyes. That's what happened after going to the poison path. It was like, shoo, shoo, all of these things happen, and all of these things, I began to see the pictures of my memory kind of align, and it began to make sense that this was something that I was meant to. This is why I always say I was meant to do it, because the process was begun without me even actively setting it in motion. It was time for it to happen. I shared about some of my experience with Nama, but the rest from, that point on, up until me going actively saying I'm going into the realm of Samael, I didn't actively say, okay, this is a process of me going through the Qliphoth. So there was a lot of things from that point to now where I can recall, like I said, looking back in hindsight, seeing that whole movie play out, with me tapping into my primal side, then me understanding, going through these realms, right, with me understanding this is a part of me and how to acclimate that. All of these things was a part of that process, breaking down the structure that was holding me back. All of this was a part of this process going through the Qliphoth realm. It's just breaking down like the old and rebuilding as I work my way through. And I don't understand when someone says they've gone through the Qliphoth tree in like a month. I don't get it. Because, and it could be maybe because this is something that they intentionally set out to do, so they really were working at it. But for me, so many things had to be ripped away, so many things had to be learned so that it can become my new foundation. So for me, that takes time for these things to settle in, because you have to work through the traumas when you go through these realms. So I'm not the type of person that flies through these things. So my process is a little slower, and I'm okay with that because I want to make sure I'm a Libra, so I'm like, I balance out everything. It's sometimes too much, which is one of the reasons why I could take a little slower. But I'm not that. I want to make sure that I get all that's necessary. I don't want to have to like go backward, right? Because I didn't quite get the lesson. So that's where I'm at right now. And I will, in another video, share more of my experiences with intentionally going through certain parts of the tree of death, the Qliphoth tree. But I wanted to make this video because maybe someone else can resonate with having an experience of being prepped and initiated into this Qliphoth realm, and this was not something that you initially set out to do. So let me know if you've had that experience. I'd be curious to know that, because I didn't think about this until, like I said, I listened to Universal Mastery's, I forget his name, but his video about it, and maybe I'll put the video in the description, the link to the video in the description of this video. But that's enough of that rant. I just wanted to come on here and kind of, this is for me, documenting my experience, because had I done that before, maybe it would have been a lot easier for me to connect the dots. So now going forward, this is something that I'm making sure that I do in here, document it, share it with you, for those of you who may be experiencing these things. And for those of you who are beginners to this path, I am not like this well versed and experienced person on the darker side of things, but I am no spring chicken. I am no newbie to spirituality, and I've worked with, like I said in my other video, Lucifer, Belial, and Astaroth. I don't know if I made a video about that, but I'm working, delving back into connecting with Astaroth. But yeah, so this is kind of like the beginning of a journey where I'm actively saying, this is the thing that I am a part of, and this is the thing that I resonate with, this is the thing that I'm doing, this is the thing that I'm sharing, this is the thing that's a part of my life. So I'm bringing it to you here on this channel. So that is all I wanted to say. And again, please let me know in the comments your thoughts on being initiated unknowingly, and kind of prepped for going into the Qliphoth realm. I'd be curious to hear what it is that you have to say. So until the next video, I love you all, and into the shadows.